and welcome back to another week at Beyond the Trailer Park. And it's kind of turned into winter, and really not thrilled about that. So you might hear me bitching about snow because we've got way too much of it. So anyway, Beth, how the hell's it going over in Pennsylvania?
It's chilly. There's little dustings of white shit on the ground, which, like you, does not make me happy. So, and it's hunting season. Yay, rah.
All right, all the rednecks are out there with the rifles shooting anything that can move, right?
Yeah, and then coming to the restaurant and pigging out. And when I say pigging out, I mean literally, because we had a whole bunch of people in yesterday and they freaking trashed the restaurant. It was like really dirty.
Ooh,
There was
lovely.
garbage everywhere now. But yeah, it's our busy time of the year right now, going through about the second week in December. So.
Oh boy. Oh, keep you hopping, I guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully will be joining us. She's doing the parent thing right now, so she was having to go get ice cream for her boys, but she was thankfully not going to complain about it being cold because I have snow and she doesn't, and she probably really likes that because you can't wear flip-flops in snow, as she pointed out on my Facebook yesterday. So with any luck, she'll be along and hopefully join us. At least she's not under the weather like last week, so that's a good thing. So, and joining us for the third time, and we're glad to have him back, is our friend Robert Robinson. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good, and it's not snowing here yet.
Well, this is good.
Yes.
Let me guess. I can have it all for both of you, right?
Yes, you may.
You know what? I think that's a kind offer, and I think we'll just stick with that.
I'm not sure
I agree.
offering, but yeah. Before we dive into everything, there was already a comment in the Q&A before I even started the show. I'm not sure how that works, but apparently there's a Marnie Sexton over there who asks, are there any faiths you find appealing, or are they all just becoming unappealing at this point? Well, for me, they pretty much were already all unappealing. I don't know about you guys, but well, I know what Beth's going to say.
Oh, yeah, really? What am I going to say?
Fuck them all.
Well, that's where I am right now, but actually, surprisingly enough, I actually was very influenced by Eastern philosophy. I got into Buddhism, believe it or not, and I'm more of a Taoist. Yeah, I'm more of a Taoist than I am a Buddhist, but eventually I realized when I started looking into the politics of it that you're right, fuck them all. Buddhism is not the genteel religion, or, well, actually it's not even a religion, it's actually a philosophy. It's not the genteel philosophy that, as much as I respect the Dalai Lama, and I do like what he has to say sometimes, it is not the genteel life view that he makes it out to be. Actually, some, not all, some, especially more so where they're having trouble over in Tibet, they're nasty motherfuckers.
I just was reading a story the other day, and my apologies, I can't remember exactly what part of the world it was. It might have been Nepal, I'm not sure, but there was a story about it was a woman who was trying to teach proper sex ed, and she was getting death threats from the Buddhist monks. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And they will not hesitate to burn your ass. They are not the genteel people that we think they
Well,
are.
I guess I won't be checking into the Shaolin Temple then anytime soon.
Now,
I'm actually with a Buddhist, but luckily for me, it's a Zen Buddhism
yeah,
branch.
and that's one thing too. There is different types of Buddhism, so it's not, and it's been a while since I looked at it. I can't remember which ones are which. So, but
Well,
yeah,
put
I
it this
went that route for a while, but eventually, um, I'm going through a resurgence right now of my angry atheist phase. So yeah,
well,
pretty much
that's
fuck all
quite
religions.
understandable. And his group of Buddhism, they're so shiny happy that it's too shiny happy for me. When they were wishing Happy New Year to the trees, I was like, "Where's the door?"
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Hey, trees have rights too, you know.
Well, this is true. And let's say hi to our guest from last week, Robert Beatty, who's watching. Hello, Robert.
Hey,
It's the
Robert.
Hey,
hour.
Betty.
So, but that's okay.
Yeah, you had Beatty and Photo on, didn't you?
Well,
Well,
it was here for like 10 minutes, and then he had a bit of tummy trouble and had to
Oh.
bail. But yeah, Robert, not you, Robert, Robert Beatty. The chat feature on YouTube is really bizarre. I have to re-engineer how I set up the show in order to get that to work. And the downside to that is I can't provide linkage to my guests in a way that I would prefer. So but thank you very much for noticing that the chat isn't working on the YouTube side. If somebody could figure out how the hell to get it to marry up with Google Plus, I would love it. But at this point, I'm told it doesn't work that way. But maybe someday we'll get it figured the hell out. But for now, we're just going to go with the Q&A. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hey. And he says, back at you, Robert.
Ah, cool.
So, of
for
course,
those,
what's that, Beth?
I was going to say, for those that don't know, Robert Beatty, Rob Robertson, Dave, and we all used to chill on another, I'll say secular podcast. That's how we all know each other.
Yep.
We all kind of migrated when Deb had stopped the show due to
Other dad.
life has interrupted us, as I call it.
Yes.
We kind of migrated, and we all kind of stuck together, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, life has a way of getting in the way sometimes.
It
Sometimes.
does. And then there's that Murphy fucker. Somebody needs to kick that guy's ass at some point. Just
Yep.
saying. So for anybody else who doesn't know, our current friend Robert, or we'll call him Rob, is our resident Scientology expert, having been a Scientologist for, what was it, 9 years, Robert?
Almost 9 years, yeah.
Almost 9 years, yes. So we want to revisit the wackiness that is Scientology for a good reason, because Leah Remini, who some people should know from a show called The King of Queens, she herself was a Scientologist. She grew up in Scientology, and she just recently released a book about a week and a half ago or so on her life as a Scientologist, because she very publicly split from Scientology about 2 years ago. And so now she's telling it like it is, I guess. Now, I have not had a chance to read the book, and it just came out, but so we thought we'd come back and discuss all the crazy shit that is Scientology. So, Robert, has there been any sort of developments or anything else besides the book going on that you've heard about, or is it just wackiness as usual?
Well, you know, we got some good news today out of Russia.
I did see that, but you go ahead and elaborate.
The Moscow court, actually it was the Moscow higher court upheld the Moscow court's decision to disband Scientology in Moscow.
Yay!
Yeah, and the reason was because they had trademarks and copyrights, which in the Russians' mind said, well, if you have trademarks and copyrights, you're not a church.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
I love it.
It's a valid point, right? Because, and one of the main criticisms, aside from being batshit crazy, that Scientology's had is that they sell their doctrine, basically. You cannot learn what, they're sitting here saying, we have the key to life, the universe, and everything, but you need to pay us hundreds of thousands of dollars for you to find out. And what Russia's basically saying is a religion doesn't operate that way, which is cool.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting
I think it's great.
take on
It is a good take on it, and something I'm hoping maybe more countries will pick up on, because you know what? That could bite Mormons in the ass eventually. Now, Mormons don't have copyrights, but you do have to pay to play.
Well, Scientology's big argument on that is, well, other religions survive on their donations. The thing is, though, it's like, well, yeah, in the Mormon Church, if you don't tithe, you don't get in the temple, That's right. And
but Scientology goes
but the thing is, in like Christian churches, it's like they encourage donations, but
yes.
if you can't afford donations, you're not denied knowing whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
And so Scientology lies, but that's no surprise.
Well, and in a sense, they're denying you their version of, quote, salvation, unless you want to fork out all the money. And
at least $1 million to go OTA.
yeah. And they aren't just saying, we're not going to tell you. If anybody who does have access to the information or somehow gets a hold of the information releases that, they are very aggressive at prosecuting that and suing people for copyright violations and things like that. No other religion ever does anything like that. Like
no.
The Mormons, like I say, you can't get in the temple if you don't tithe. You have to be up to date on your tithe, and that could be thousands of dollars, but it's never going to be hundreds of thousands to $1 million. And they're not going to tell you that you can't get into heaven at all, or we're going to take away your Book of Mormon if you don't pay, kind of thing, right?
Right. Oh, and congratulations to those 1,600 Mormons who left the church in Salt Lake City this week.
Yes, that was wonderful to see too, for sure. And well, we'll have to talk to our friend Bryce about that soon, because I bet you he's got lots to say in that regard as well. But yeah, that was pretty amazing. They just all up and you're gonna say like, and the balls to say that a child raised in a gay household basically has to prove that they weren't, quote, tainted by that before they can be baptized. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, gay by osmosis.
I know. Beth, how does that work?
Well, I'm not quite sure, because, see, I was adopted.
Oh.
And so, like, and my parents were fundies, although the gay issue has never really been discussed in my family. Sorry, I think I was born with it, fuckers. Because nobody, well, let me rephrase it. Nobody in my family is out as being gay, although I suspect at least one.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm the baby of the family at 51. I have cousins in their 70s now. So
Got-
my one cousin who just retired, I have a sneaking suspicion, but during the 60s and 70s when we were growing up, we just never talked about it.
Yeah.
Where did I get the osmosis from? No, I was fucking born with it. So yeah.
Did you shake hands with a gay person once as a child?
Well, it could have been my gym teacher. I don't know.
Oh, you know what it was? It was Pat Robertson's stabby ring. They stabbed you with the gay.
Ah, oh, yeah, him and his damn stabby AIDS ring.
Yeah.
Why doesn't that guy retire?
Why isn't he dead yet? Like
Well,
how
I was trying to be nice.
retire
We're not nice.
is what
We're
you meant.
not nice on this show.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
I think Deb and I are at the same point of where
I
basically
was
we
trying to
just
be
want to say fuck it.
PC.
That's okay.
Yeah,
We're
we're not
not
PC.
PC on this show, dude. So when Leah Remini left Scientology, that certainly made a fair bit of a ripple, I would say. Do you think there's going to be, or has there been any more fallout from the book, or are they just going to do their usual, oh, that person's got all these problems, don't listen?
I'm glad you asked. Uh, she starts off the book with this. Let me start with this. I am an apostate. I have lied. I have cheated. I have done things in my life that I'm not proud of, including but not limited to falling in love with a married man 19 years ago, being selfish and self-centered, fighting with virtually everyone I have ever known via hateful emails, texts, and spoken words, physically threatening people, not showing up at funerals of people I loved, being on occasion a horrible daughter, mother, sister, aunt, stepmother, wife. The list goes on and on. Okay. The reason she revealed all this is because, and this is what she said. Why am I revealing all this? Because after the Church of Scientology gets hold of this book, it may well spend an obscene amount of money running ads, creating websites, and trotting out celebrities to make public statements that their religious beliefs are being attacked, all in an attempt to discredit me by disparaging my reputation. Okay, she hit the nail right on the head
Mhm.
Yes.
because Scientology came out with, it comes as no surprise that someone as self-absorbed as Leah Remini, with an insatiable craving for attention, would exploit her former faith as a publicity stunt,
Yep.
on the verge of being expelled for her ethical lapses.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
think the one quote that
she
caught me is
she predicted.
irrelevant. Yeah.
And to any people who don't know about Scientology, I got to say this: go to freedommagazine.org, which is one of Scientology's websites. Read what they have to say about Paul Haggis, Lawrence Wright, Alex Gibney, Marty Rathbun, Tori Christman, Mike Rinder, and it's the same thing. Practically word for word is the same thing. At least if you're gonna, try to kick somebody's ass, be original.
Well,
But
and I'm sorry
they
if
can't do it.
anybody has watched Tori's videos, to think that there is a mean bone in that lady's body, like, come on.
Oh,
She,
even when she slams Scientologists, she does it with love.
I
Tori's
know,
great. Tori's
oh, she's
great.
Oh yeah.
the sweetest thing ever. I mean, to call her self-absorbed is beyond ridiculous. But that's the thing. That's what they do, and I don't know
Well,
if you.
and
Um,
it's actually by LRH policy, which
yeah,
is if somebody is critical of the church, always attack, never defend.
right.
Mhm.
And
And
those are the words of L. Ron Hubbard.
I don't know if you know, Robert, 2020 did a show about Leah Remini a couple of weeks ago that I just happened to come across on. It was suggested for me to watch on YouTube, and the first thing they did when Scientology found out that 2020 was doing the show, and they even showed it on closed circuit TV. They're like, and here's video of their representative dropping off a giant dossier with all this dirt on Leah Remini on it, you know, and I think they kind of suspected that that would happen.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
some of
Any
the
of the major media knows now that, you know, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to try to slam whoever the guest is.
yeah, and you know,
Well,
it's you'd think the church would realize that everybody kind of goes, oh, here comes the slam talk, and we're just gonna not pay attention.
Yeah, they probably won't slam you because I'm small fry.
Well, oh, I don't know. I would think it was funny though. Like, good luck finding anything to slam. Like, ooh, I'm an apostate. Woo, I say fuck religion a lot.
You know, the thing is, and I think I said it last time I was on. They can come after me. They can say anything they want. If you read my website, I've already said, you know, mainly what I did, you know, and what I did. I find it kind of funny that mainly what Leah got in trouble for was the same thing that I got in trouble for, which was trying to keep Scientology policy in.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And one of the big things for her, and they talk with her quite a bit on the 2020 episode, obviously, and they talk about Miscavige's wife and how, you know,
Oh
she,
yeah, and by the way, Scientology, where is Shelley?
yes,
yes,
where's Shelley Miscavige?
that's the scary fucking thing is this lady has not been seen, you know,
Or heard
public
from?
by anyone since 2007. And I mean, apparently the police talked to her at some point, but, you know, how do we know?
Uh-uh, Leah puts it in her book
Oh,
that
good. Oh,
that
excellent.
the police didn't really talk to her. As far as the police got was a Scientology attorney who assured them that she was okay.
Oh, because in the 2020 episode, it it was implied that they had spoken to Shelley directly.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So,
she contacted well, the original person that took her report was a friend of hers.
right.
But when he went to investigate, he was taken off the case by his boss, and
Oh,
the case was put to missing persons. And when he went back and called his boss and said, "Well, did you actually talk to her?" His boss told him to drop it.
wow.
Yeah. What
Oh,
a lot of people don't know is that Scientology owns a lot of police officers, uh, not only in Los Angeles but all over California.
I could see that though. I could see that because they're quite insidious in that area.
Yeah, like in all their grand openings in California, they always have like the top cop in the area come up and make a speech and give him like the key to the org or whatever, you know.
Wow. I remember there was a video that Tori did. They were having some big shindig at the Big Blue building in LA. I think the Big Blue building's in LA, isn't it?
Yeah, it used to be the old Cedar Sinai Hospital.
Yes. And she was just trying to film like from the sidewalk from like way far away. And the police were like, "Oh, they've got this whole sidewalk, you know, blocked off. You have to go across the street, kind of thing. And I
Mhm.
love it. She said, okay, well, I'd just like to see the permit, right? So the security guy gets on, is like, yeah, Tori would like to see the permit. It's like they already know. But it was very, like, what organization gets to block off the whole fucking sidewalk from the public?
Well,
Like,
it is called L. Ron Hubbard Way.
yeah, this is true. But I mean,
Quick
it,
question.
go for it, Beth.
I know who Tori is. You know who Tori is, and Rob does. Want to tell everybody else who Tori is? Because
Tori
her
Chris
YouTube
Tori Chrisman,
is
also known as Tori Magoo. If you go on YouTube, just type in Tori Magoo, and you will see she was an OT7, which is like the next rung below the top rung, and when she left the church, they came after her hard time. I mean, wherever she went, she had to get a police escort to get her out of the Clearwater airport.
Hmm.
That's how hard they came after her.
And
yeah, for
she,
anybody wanting to know ex-Scientology, she's a really good resource.
oh yeah, she was in for 20 odd years or longer. Was it 30
Yeah,
years?
yeah, she went in back in the '60s, the hippie days.
I love her story when she says, I was a hippie and I wandered in and it was like all, how to fix yourself, and I was all into that and helping people, and boom, there I was. She's like, I was a
Well,
hippie.
Diane Benscotter in her story about the Moonies, she's like, she was out to save the world, and she discovered, that Sun Moon was the savior, and she goes, yeah, that went over real well with my family. She does a interesting little TED talk that I like to refer to when it talks about the cult mind think. I use her and Steve Hansen quite a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, and Tori's got quite the YouTube channel and a lot of good little videos. She doesn't do really long stuff, but when she said, she pops up with a lot of really good information, and I love it when she goes down to some of their centers and just like hangs around and talking to people going in and be like, it's all a scam, right?
The funny thing is, and if you look in the background, like if their windows are open when she gets there, they're closed like real quick. Tori
Oh,
scared the shit out of Scientology.
I know, and I think part of it is because she's so sweet and genuine in her care for people. Like she's not just trying to be a bitch. She really recognizes that the people in the church are being harmed and are potentially harming themselves, and she cares enough to go out there whenever she can and just be truthful and
Yep.
just say, and also what's interesting about Tori, as far as I know, I don't think this has changed, but she still believes the tech, and she'll say that, like, that I don't have a problem with the tech, but they changed it. It's not what it was supposed to be. And
Well,
that's
the she says that, but it is not the way it was supposed to be. However, she doesn't believe in the tech.
okay. Okay, maybe I
Uh,
was seeing
it,
older.
it is true that Miscavige came in and fucked a bunch of stuff up,
Yes.
but I guess it's the difference between some Bibles and some later Bibles where like whole
Yes.
paragraphs are not there anymore, and
For Miscavige, though, I think his changing of what he did change was more of a cash grab than anything. from my understanding.
Well, the thing is, and this is like for people that have gone way up the bridge, like OT7 and OT8. Well, when you get there and you find out, well, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I ain't no different. And Remini says this in her book. You know, it's like at the end, I'm still me. I still have the same problems. The only thing I did in Scientology was make Scientology better. I didn't make me better.
that's right.
You know, and especially like if you're a person that's on a save the mankind track already, and you run into Scientology, you think it's like the best thing since peanut butter. You know, until you find out different. You know, and until you actually read the policy letters that are for staff. Excuse me, that are for staff only or Sea Org only, uh, then you see a different side of good old Ron, you know.
Yeah.
And if you ever have a chance, and it's online, if you go to Jerry Armstrong's site or Arnie Lerma's site, there's a document called The Affirmations of L. Ron Hubbard, which Jerry Armstrong renamed to be The Admissions of L. Ron Hubbard. Now, for anybody who doesn't know this, Jerry Armstrong was L. Ron Hubbard's personal archivist. And when L. Ron Hubbard was getting ready to have his biography done, Jerry Armstrong took all these boxes and was going to give some documents to the writer, and he came across this document, and it is chock full of some evil shit, like how Ron felt about women, how why he forbids masturbation in the Sea Org, which was because he was afraid that he was going nuts because of masturbation. Uh, all sorts of weird shit, you know. He talks about his spirit guide, you know, who he got from doing the oh, what was it, the Moon Child thing back when he was running with the founder of JPL,
Right.
and they got off into this Satanist stuff, but it's not really Satanist because I mean, you know, if you look at what real, I mean, like the Church of Satan people do, they don't even believe in Satan, you know.
Yeah, we did a show about that, what, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I went off on one of my little rants. because poor Satanism is being misrepresented so badly in the media. So I
Yeah.
can just imagine what Elron does to it.
You know, that's why on one of my websites I call myself Lucifer, you know, the light bringer.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it was interesting for me because I didn't realize that Leah Remini was raised in Scientology.
Yep.
And you know, some of her, and again in the 2020 show, it went through some of her childhood and all of that. And interesting that she kind of bombed out of the Sea Org and took up acting after that.
It wasn't exactly that she bombed out of Sea Org. She actually she was going to be put on the RPF, the Rehabilitation Project Force.
Yes.
And her mom said, "No, you're not putting my kid on the RPF."
Yeah. And for folks who didn't know, the RPF is a disciplinary sort of, I guess, wing of the Sea Org for members who have really misbehaved, and it's just horrible. It's like prison camp, and they're forced to like run everywhere, and they can't talk.
Oh, no, it's a retreat. you know, to make them feel
Oh,
better.
so is Jesus camp for Scientologists?
Yeah, Jesus camp for Scientologists. Yep.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Rob,
because
do you think?
Jesus Camp is one of the scariest horror movies I've ever seen, by the way.
Yeah, I loved it.
what was that, Beth?
I was gonna say, do you think that Remini's defection is one of the biggest, or is the biggest? I'm not including Travolta and Cruz because they're lifers; they'll never get out.
Uh,
But
Probably the most outspoken of the Scientology critics who have been celebrities so far.
not to take away from Paul Haggis and the rest of them, but
No,
do you think her defection will have the most impact?
well, yeah, between her and Jason Gay, who she brings up in her book, uh, he actually left before she did. As a matter of fact, she says she was actually shocked because she ran into him at Celebrity Center, and she goes, "Well, what are you doing?" And he says, "Well, leaving." And she goes,
Now, who's Jason Gay?
"Jason Begay, he's a good friend of David Duchovny's,
Yeah.
and he was actually in quite a few episodes of X-Files, and he's very well known for his most recent series, which was a big hit, called Chicago PD."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If it's anything in the last 5 years, I'm clueless because I don't have TV.
There is a really good interview with Jason Begay on that you can see on YouTube where he talks about his time in and why he left and all of that. It's quite good.
Yeah, he swears a lot, but it's a great video.
I don't.
Well, if people are watching this show, they probably don't have a problem with swearing. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I think that he probably took all of the times that he wanted to swear in Scientology and put it all in one video, because he says fuck a whole lot.
Yes, he does.
It's a 2.5-hour video, and I encourage everybody to watch it.
Absolutely. It's very, very good. And a lot of insight in it. He talks a lot about his experiences and what he saw from other people's experiences too that really made him think that maybe that was not the best choice. So.
Basically, his biggest problem was when he got on to the OT levels.
Mm-hmm.
And he went kind of fuck nuts for a little while, and instead of like explaining anything to him, what they did was they just said, "Well, you got to go back into session,"
Yeah.
you know. And they kept on telling him that he kept on getting more fucked up, and finally he just said that's it, I can't do it anymore, and he was very disillusioned for quite a while after that.
And the thing is, like, I would think that when you're at the beginning and when you probably first start doing the auditing, being able to talk about some things that you may have going on in life, just to be able to talk about it, I'm sure can be very beneficial to people. And it's almost, I would think, it's like a hook. You know, you get in there, you get to talk to somebody, you get some stuff off your chest, and you're like, yeah, this is good shit. And then you keep going, and then you find out about Xenu, and it just kind of downhill from. And by the time you find out about Xenu, you're thousands of dollars and bazillion hours in, and then you're like, now what the fuck do I do? Which
well,
is
not only that, they have enough dirt on you, you can never really get out.
that
Somebody like Travolta and Cruz. Could you imagine the dirt that Scientology has on those two?
Oh my gosh.
I'm not going to go into the whole gay rumor bullshit because, in my mind, personally, if he is or if he isn't, it doesn't matter. To me,
in one of my articles talking about the celebs, I actually said, John, come on out, because nobody cares if you're gay or not.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, to me, for them, it has to be so much deeper than just, quote, being gay. Because, like you said, nobody's really going to give two flying fucks if they're gay or not. Now, 25, 30 years ago, maybe. Okay? But
Well,
in
and
today's
especially
day and age, no.
when Travolta started out and was making a big name for himself initially, he was a sex symbol to women. So, and those were still the edge of the times where movie theaters would say you can't be gay because we need millions of women to want to have sex with you, basically. And I know in old Hollywood they would, because if they were under contracts, they would virtually force actors and actresses to get married to cover up one or the other being gay or whatnot.
Wow,
So
it sounds like Scientology.
it
I was
does, doesn't it? Maybe that's Alex got the idea from watching, paying attention to old Hollywood's ways. But
Rob, how much influence does
nowadays, if Travolta was gay, it would be like, okay, so now all the gay guys out there can go, what a
Yeah.
hottie.
No, because now he's an old guy like me.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Rob, how much influence does Scientology actually have on Hollywood, do you think?
It still has a lot of influence. Especially like several of the workshops, which feed actors and actresses to the studios, are owned by Scientologist directors and actors. Uh, and they're like, if you read the Hollywood rags, like casting call and stuff like that, there's always big ads, learn the skills you need to make it in the business and call this number, and you end up getting connected with Celebrity Center in Hollywood.
Well, and there was an interview I watched on YouTube before the last time we were on, and it was a young fellow in LA who was an actor, and he was talking, and that's how he got suckered into it.
Yep.
And he was saying that at casting and auditions, they would always try to have Scientology reps there because all of the young actors and actresses who'd just been to an audition or a casting call and been unsuccessful, they would be right there going, oh, you didn't get the part? Well, we can help you get the next part. Here, come and talk to us.
And it's viciously true.
Yeah.
Because they do know studio heads, and they do know directors, and they do know producers. So it's like you come in, you do the communication course, and they go, hey, you're actually pretty. Let me make a call.
Yeah.
Do you
And
think that
and there
played
it starts.
in Leah's rise?
well, she even said in the 2020 interview, they asked her if Scientology helped her career, and she said absolutely. There were things that she learned from Scientology, and she said it absolutely helped my career. That doesn't mean it was.
Well, was it things she learned or things they did?
No, it was actually things she learned. You will hear Scientologist after Scientologist after Scientologist, exes that say the communication course actually made my career, whatever career it was,
Right.
because communication is basic to anybody's success. And the communication course, what the communication course, I'm gonna give you the short version I can. It removes your buttons.
Okay. So, like things that would trigger negative reactions is what you mean?
things that would put your hackles up,
Okay.
which is not good for communication. You
See,
can't, you, you can't communicate when you're angry.
well, no, absolutely. I'm just thinking, I don't think I would do very well in that course because Scientology gets my hackles up.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say my one hackle, so to speak, is
Yeah,
religion.
I feel like, yeah, so you're teaching me some good stuff here, but what's the fuck with the Xenu guy?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. If you go back to the original Sweeney show,
Yeah.
and you look at the people that were interviewed at Celebrity Center, which
Mm-hmm.
was Kirstie Alley and Jenna Elfman and a couple others, and Leah Remini.
Yes.
And Leah Remini goes, "Who's this Xenu guy that you're talking about?"
Yes, that's right.
And she had already done OT3 by that time, you know, so she knew who Xenu was.
So she
Yeah.
was just lying for Xenu instead of lying for Jesus.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, you know, which according to a lot of ministers is okay.
Yep.
You know,
You're protecting the faith.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so in that respect, Scientology is no different than any other religion, you know. And she said, you know, in her book, I have lied. You know, yeah,
Exactly.
who hasn't? But you know, and I hate the way Scientology treated John Sweeney, but that's for another time.
And for folks who may not know, John Sweeney is the British reporter for Panorama who, oh gosh, it was years and years ago now. He was doing a documentary on Scientology, and they were like stalking him and sending cars after him and showing up at his hotel in the middle of the night and all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah.
They hounded him.
Oh,
Well,
they
they and it was all scripted. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
even Tommy Davis's so-called reaction. You know.
Yes, so Tommy Davis was their spokesman at the time, and they actually told him to like get into Sweeney's face and push him until he freaked out, which he did.
Yeah.
And he he totally says, that was the most unprofessional moment of my career and I should never have done that, but god damn, that guy pissed me off. Which was exactly the point, which was what Tommy was trying to do.
Yeah.
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 And
Tommy played his part very well, and Tommy had a big part in actually making Leah Remini start to look around. It was at the Tom Cruise big wedding party,
yes,
and
about that.
she had started. She had a lot of problems with the wedding party. Number one, that Shelley wasn't there, and that David Miscavige's second in command had her hands all over Miscavige, you know, and Norman Starkey was dancing with Brooke Shields, and he had his hands all over her, and
Well, isn't Brooke Shields and psychiatry proponent? Like, what was she even doing there?
I have a feeling that she was invited because of that, so
Okay.
that Tom could say, "Hey, look, we're friends." You know, I was just, you know, saying things that I was saying, you know, and stuff like that. But you know, we're friends. I think that's the only reason she was invited.
The other that Leah Remini said on the 2020 interview was that they pushed her to get J-Lo and Mark Antony to come to the wedding, which she did. She got them to come, and then the whole time, because she's like, they were my friends, but the whole time they were trying to get me away from them so that people could sort of try and influence them. And she
Mhm.
said that really pissed her off too.
Yeah, that did. And but the big thing was the Shelley thing,
Yeah.
and she made the mistake of asking Tommy about it, and Tommy came out and told her, "You said you don't have the fucking rank to ask those questions."
Yeah.
Since
Of
when is it
course,
illegal to ask questions?
Tommy is no longer the spokesperson for Scientology, so
No, he's been retired off to some homestead somewhere.
yeah, in Texas, and his
Texas.
wife too.
Yeah, who she was also very prominent, and all of a sudden they're just kind of away.
Yeah. Now these are people who have also second generation Scientologists.
Yes. Tommy's mother, oh gosh, she was a famous lady too. Who was that again? I forget.
The name slipped right by me.
I
I had
know.
it and I lost it. Doesn't matter though.
Yeah, his mother is a famous actress who was suckered in, and he grew up in Scientology as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, if you look at who he was then, you can tell how that can warp you for sure.
Yeah, but now there is actually no public
Yeah,
spokesperson for Scientology. The person who is supposedly the public spokesperson is Karen Powell, but she's you won't find her on any videos.
yeah. I think maybe
Why do you think that is?
Well,
yeah,
if you look at stuff that she's written to various blogs and stuff like that, it's all Miscavige.
yeah.
It's not her. It's just in her name.
So they've put her in the role as kind of a rubber stamp marionette kind of deal. And so
Straw straw man.
if she
Yeah,
was to go
strong.
and speak publicly, she wouldn't be able to come up with the same stuff herself because it wasn't her in the first place.
Oh, by far not. I mean, she is no Mike Rinder or Tommy Davis. There's no way that she can think on her toes.
Yeah. And do you think that they didn't look for somebody on that level because they wanted more control over that aspect?
Miscavige, Miscavige is probably the ultimate micromanager. Uh, he needs his fingers in everybody's pie, and you can take that any way you want.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think it's more plausible deniability? Even though
no,
it's coming from a well, and what I'm
no,
saying is even though it's
because
coming from a
because there are too many people who know differently, and too many people who have spoken differently. Mike Rinder has gone into it in depth of how he'd be out on a caper, and like he would be getting emails from Miscavige, like he couldn't answer one without another one coming up. You know.
Well, I was thinking along the lines that even though she's basically stamping her name to these public statements, if Miscavige were to say something that kind of shoots himself in the foot, he could say, "Well, I didn't say that."
Yeah, well, he does that enough anyway,
Yeah.
just by some of the orders that he gives.
Mhm.
But basically, they just want a name out there. They don't care who it is.
Yeah.
Uh, and probably the biggest reason for that is because of the defections. You know,
Yes.
uh, when the top two leave, you know, there's something wrong.
Mhm.
There's something way wrong.
Yeah.
And although Mike and Marty were still believers when they left, I don't believe either one of them is a believer now.
Because was it Marty that was doing his own sort of freebie version for a while?
Yeah, or people could pay him whatever they felt like they could pay him. You know, or he would do it. He never asked for money. You know, if people wanted to give him some money, that was fine.
Yeah.
And I respect him for that, because there are a lot of people that need a stepping stone on their
That
way to total outness.
Mhm.
and they maybe they want to continue doing auditing on a comfort level kind of thing. And of course, if you're going to do that anywhere near the church, number one, they're going to want more money, and number two, they're going to leverage you to not leave in the first place.
And I've actually told people who were leaving, you know, if you want a great exit counselor, I can't think of anybody better than Mark Rathman.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. I laughed. It was I think it was in the same special where they had. It was an interview clip with him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm the Antichrist.
Yeah,
I'm the Scientology Antichrist." Because they were talking about suppressive persons and whatnot. And I just thought that was funny because, he seemed like a very, he's the first one to admit that he did a lot of bad shit in his role. But again, he seemed like a very genuine and caring person too.
I find it funny that Scientology, in their rebuttal to Marty Rathman in Going Clear,
Hmm.
uh, they show him just viciously slamming the squirrel busters that were outside of his house.
Yes.
But what they don't show you, and you can actually see it, all you got to do is go to YouTube and put in squirrel busters, and you can see that they pushed him far, far, far beyond human patience for him to snap like that.
And honestly, somebody does that to me. And for those of you who don't know, the Squirrel Busters are basically groups of hired thugs that the Scientologists send to people's homes with video cameras and all kinds of shit. And they're basically an intimidation squad. And I'm sorry, somebody shows up on my doorstep with video cameras, goading and saying all kinds of nasty shit. They'd be lucky if I didn't just yelled and screamed at them. So, actually kudos to him for being that restrained.
Yeah, yeah, and really, he didn't really flip his lid until they started going after his wife, who was never a Scientologist.
That's right. And
Yeah.
by the way, I haven't seen, is the trial for that still going on, or did that get resolved?
The latest from the Texas Supreme Court is that Scientology's anti-SLAPP motion was struck down. That happened 2 weeks ago.
Oh, fantastic. Good timing for me to ask then.
Yeah.
And for people who didn't know, Marty Rathburn had married a lady who, as Robert said, was never a Scientologist. And when harassing him wasn't getting the results they were looking for, they started stalking his wife and showing up with video cameras and filming her. And so she sued. She sued them, didn't she?
Yeah, yeah. She sued a bunch of the top orgs and David Miscavige.
Now, what happened with that? Is that still going on?
The court actually said that Miscavige must submit to questioning.
Yeah, I remember that, and then I hadn't
And so
seen.
they're still fighting that, but I think it's going to end up that the higher courts will uphold
I
that
sure
rule.
hope so, because I would love to see that fucker get grilled in a courtroom for sure.
I'm going to put it this way: he's smooth.
He is.
He is smooth. I mean, like if you look at the biblical description of Satan, he's that smooth.
Oh yeah, he's pathological too.
He
I
is.
really
He
think
is.
he's pathological.
Yeah, he believes his own lies.
Oh yeah, and some of the stories of how he's abusive to people, like the power trip that guy is on, is just off the scale. Like he believes, I think, that he is entitled to treat people that way.
Yeah. Well, and Tom Cruise is becoming like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at the story Leah talks about the cookie dough incident. You
Oh,
know,
tell me, do tell. What was that one?
uh, she and her husband at one time she and her husband were invited over to Cruise's house quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and at one time, old Tom got it in his mind that he wanted to bake cookies, and so he goes out in the kitchen and can't find the makings for cookie dough. And even though his staff was trying to point out that there was a package of cookie dough already mixed sitting on the counter, he was going absolutely crazy, and 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 he's going like this: L. Ron Hubbard here, me and Dave here, you guys here, you know, and like putting his whole staff down, and finally Leah's husband pointed out and said, "Oh, I think I just found your cookie dough," you know, and old Tom didn't apologize to his people or anything like that, but he grumblingly made cookies.
Jeez, what a fucking loon.
He is, and you know, Leah was trying to tell even back like the Oprah interview where
Yes.
where Tom was talking about finding the love of his life, and jumping on her
Oh
couch,
God.
all that.
Uh,
Leah said at that time she was trying to tell upper level Scientologists that Tom had to be taken off of his pedestal.
yeah.
Yeah.
That
And
that that interview with Tom Cruise, because I remember watching it, was actually the interview that really turned my stomach with Scientology. That's when I really started to realize that they were basically anti-psychiatry, anti-psychology, because he really came down on was it Christy Brinkley?
Brooke Shields.
Brooke
Yeah,
Shields,
Brooke Shields.
and if you
Why do
want to
I get the two
watch
confused every freaking time?
that one, it's the Matt Lauer interview
Yeah.
Yes.
I, it's like
where
when
he
I
goes
first
where
heard,
he goes, you don't know psychiatry. I know psychiatry. I've studied
yes,
psychiatry. You know,
Yeah.
and,
I
uh,
know history of
the,
psychiatry. You don't.
okay. The thing is, he's never studied psychiatry. What he's
Oh
studied
no.
is L. Ron Hubbard's words on psychiatry.
yeah.
Ugh.
And L. Ron Hubbard had a broken toe about psychiatry because they put Dianetics down.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, that interview I think for me was I won't say a life changer, but it really kind of opened my eyes to the dangers of Scientology. Because I mean, I remember when Dianetics first came out, I read the book, I read a couple books, and I was like, but it never, thankfully, never stuck.
I'm going to
As
tell you
it,
something. The reason I became a Scientologist was because of Dianetics.
hmm
Because I actually understood Dianetics. And I
yeah,
actually had more understanding of Dianetics than most Scientologists do. I knew that it was a light form of hypnosis mixed with uh, some of the great psychiatrists.
yeah.
Uh, but it's an easy way of doing it. Instead of sitting there and watching the patient for like 16 months before he even says anything, you actually get to the point with the help of the light hypnosis.
Yeah. I think too. Being that I read that right around. I mean, that was probably I'll say my strongest fundy days. It just I was looking at other quote religions, so to speak, and I know there was a Wayne Dyer was just coming out. That's when he wrote his book Erogenous Zone, and he recently passed, but I mean, he had a lot of similarities to Dianetics with uh, his whole shtick. And I mean, he's basically Deepak Chopra light, or was. I mean, he passed away last year, but it's funny how these philosophies, I guess.
Well, if you look at the time period that Dianetics came out, it was actually at the beginning of the self-help movement.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes
You
sense.
know, everybody was looking for self-help.
Yeah.
You know,
I was and didn't know why.
well, at the time Dianetics came out, I wasn't, because I had my mommy to give me my bottle. You know, but I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't know I was fucked up. You know.
It almost reminds me of it as a sort of a weird comparison, but um, when when Kiss started doing disco back in the 70s, and Paul Stanley said, we kind of looked at this stuff and went, damn, we can write that shit in our sleep, so we did. And that's
Yeah.
how, because Hubbard was already cranking out dime novels like crazy, and
Yep.
he probably went, "Oh, everybody's into self-help. I can crank out one of those fuckers too."
Right. But remember that even before Dianetics, he wanted to create a church. He wanted to create a religion because he knew that he could get rich with that.
That's true. Yeah.
You
No, I
mean
do.
this?
Yes. Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield. At least I could get through Battlefield Earth, the book.
Yeah, the
Uh,
book was actually decent. The movie sucked moose
the
cock.
the one I couldn't get through was the Decology, which was
The Mission Earth.
the Mission Earth series.
Yeah.
That
Well,
was,
Mission Earth is actually Scientology light. It's basically, if you really delve into it, his introduction to Scientology, but he masked it behind science fiction.
yeah.
And the same thing with Battlefield Earth. Like I read it the first time prior to any knowledge of Scientology, and then I watched the movie, and then I think I've read that book like 3 or 4 times. But if you get into it, there's a lot. I mean, there's in all of his books, there is. I mean, Scientology is embedded. I mean, with the whole mind thing of the learning, and where the main character learns their language and their
Oh,
math.
even with the evil race, the Cyclos.
Yep.
The Cyclos were called Cyclos because their planet was controlled by psychology and
Legit.
Yeah.
psychiatry.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even still, I still like the book, but yeah, there's a lot of Scientology hidden in his
See, if you were an
popularity.
X, you wouldn't like the book, and the reason being is because when that book and the Decology came out, uh, all staff were commanded to buy a copy and read a copy because you were supposed to sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
And of course,
understand that.
you can't sell something if you haven't read it.
Yeah.
Well, also it was a good way to steal the money back from the poor staff members who didn't have money to begin with.
Yeah.
Because they took it all in the first place.
Well, I know when I first got the Decology, I had actually gotten all 10 books at once. It was like a box set or something. And somewhere along one of my 850,000 moves, I had lost it, so I started redoing it again, and I'm thinking, well, I really didn't like it the first time around. Why am I wasting money on it? But I have this thing. I mean, I'm a book nerd, so I was
How do
like,
you lose? How
yeah,
do you lose 10 books at once?
fire.
Oh, okay.
I had a
That'll
Oh,
fire in
that's a bummer.
'92. Yeah, I lost
fire.
about.
I hate to see any books burn, and that includes Scientology books.
Yeah.
You know, and I encourage people who are not Scientologists to read Scientology books just so that they can know how fucked nuts L. Ron Hubbard was.
Absolutely. Well, and I think we touched on this in the last show, but at one point they found a letter that he had written to the VA where he was seeking psychiatric help.
Yeah.
And that was, I think it was after he had started Scientology that was, so he thought he was going nuts himself, which he probably was.
Well, he thought some of his ailments were psychosomatic, and he wanted psychiatric help for that, but they turned him down.
Yeah, VA, bad move, just saying. You should have given that guy some antipsychotics.
Yeah, or electroshock.
Yeah, that too. Would have saved a hell of a lot of people a fuck ton of money. and a lot of grief too, for sure. So have there been many rumblings about the book yet? I mean, it's been out a week or so. Or have they kind of figured they've done their damage?
Well, the thing I read you from their thing is from People Magazine. They had actually told People Magazine that. And, of course, they've got their hate sites up.
Yeah.
If you have, what's it called? I'm trying to think of the program that verifies websites for you.
Oh, I don't know what that would be.
Any website that has that is a Scientology website has a little red dot next to it, which means it's not really acceptable, and that especially parents shouldn't let their children read it.
Oh,
So,
and this is interesting, Robert. Just a month or so ago, in this area, there's Scientology headquarters all over the place, but in the city next to us, Cambridge, one of the local guys from our atheist group, he posted in one of our Facebook groups that Scientology, backtrack a little bit, on the table right now in the Ontario legislature is a bill that's being put forth to revamp our Mental Health Act because it's got issues and it needs tightening up and some things reworked and whatnot. Most people that I know that I've read about it think it's a good thing that it'll make a lot of really positive changes in the way that mental health is dealt with in the province. Scientology from the Cambridge office was sending unsolicited faxes to all the businesses in the area that they could get a fax number for, saying that people shouldn't support this bill because it would take away your right to decline being committed to a mental institution. Basically, if the bill passed, the government could come along and just arbitrarily commit you to a mental institution.
Yeah, scare tactics.
Exactly, and they were going to have an open house for people to go there, and I had actually seriously considered going, but it just wasn't feasible for me to go the next day because I think it was only in the morning, and I had another thing going on, and it just didn't work out, which is too bad because I would have loved to have gone down and gotten their face about it. But that's the first insidious thing that I've ever seen here. And that particular fellow, he I guess where he worked got one of these faxes. So he like scanned it and had a copy for people to see because they weren't sending it to the public. This was just sending it to businesses. So they were kind of trying to see if they, I guess, could get small businesses and I guess larger businesses to leverage their member of provincial parliament towards voting against it. So that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, that see, here in America they wouldn't have got away with that. Uh, there are laws against sending unsolicited faxes.
right. I don't know that we do. Well, I'm sure they would have looked into the legality before they did it because
Yeah, they wouldn't get away with that here.
yeah,
But
which here either. But yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen or heard anything like that. And like, is that a normal thing, or is that just kind of, ooh, look, there's a loophole in
they've
Canadian?
they've done the same thing here, especially when Hillary Clinton was the wife of the president, and
Right.
she was really big into getting mental health covered.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, she
totally.
actually went so far as to her line of belief that it was attributed to her was that everyone should undergo therapy.
Well, what she actually said was everyone should have the right to
Right? Yeah,
undergo therapy.
they left out that word though.
Yeah, and Scientology really jumped on that, with the same scare tactics that, if if one psychiatrist said that you were nuts, that you could be committed without your consent, which
They
is not, which was not in the bill, you know.
no.
But they jump on everything like that they can. Uh, and like when it comes to drug rehabilitation, and they talk about their successes, and you can actually go online and check out all the facts and find out that they lie, and they lie, you know. And the first lie is like if you call a Narcanon representative, the first thing he's going to try to tell you is that Narcanon is not Scientology, which is a lie. You know, if you
Wasn't
look,
there a recent case against Narcanon? I forgot where though.
yeah, in Chilocco,
I can't remember
three
what the
patients,
specific.
actually four
Yeah.
patients died in 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Tony Ortega wrote today about another death that just happened a couple weeks ago.
Oh goodness, what was that about?
Uh, this was a girl who she had actually gone through the program and was so successful that they offered her a top job at one of the new Narcanons, and they had taken her actually to the Able Center to be trained for one of these top jobs, and they found her unresponsive in the shower, and then she died. Oh, we don't know yet if it was actually an overdose or something, but
Why
she's
do
not
you
doing
think
so
they're
good
so
anyway.
yeah. Why do you think they're so anti-psychiatry, anti-psychology? I mean, we'll say mainstream because they actually use it themselves.
Because L. Ron Hubbard was turned down. L. Ron Hubbard was a sick bastard, and then they didn't accept his book, Dianetics.
So it all centers from that. Hmm.
Yep, that's it.
I mean, the psychiatry
Now
person
you can
though.
listen to them sprout about electroshock therapy, which is not used very much at all,
Yeah.
or drugging. Okay, now I got it. I'm not for the widespread diagnosis of ADHD of our kids and putting them on Ritalin.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I agree with you.
Uh, my my oldest boy, I actually went to war with the school district that he was in at the time because they were going to put him on Ritalin without my consent,
Hmm.
and it never became public because they finally decided that I was not a person to be messed with. And at that time, I was a Scientologist, and I told them that if they proceeded, that everyone in the country was going to know what bastards they were, and so they backed off. But
I, Go ahead, Rob.
I still don't go for that, and I'm going to tell you the reason. The reason being is that in a lot of cases of ADHD now, it's been proven that if you give your kid a cup of coffee in the morning, that it'll settle him right down.
Huh.
Well,
Yeah, that.
I think too, from a personal perspective. I mean, yeah, I was put on antipsychotics. I was put on a mood stabilizer for my bipolar, and I would I would not be here if it weren't for the fact that, those meds leveled me out and got me to a point where I could get help from my therapy, and mine primarily focused on cognitive behavioral and also a little bit of rational and motive therapy from Albert Ellis. And I learned everything I could about being bipolar, what I can't do, what I can and cannot eat, etc. And I do think in some ways we are too quick to prescribe medications, but I think there's a time for them and a time not for them. I mean, I'm not
Right,
saying go off your
right.
medication, but my biggest issue, like I had a friend of mine whose son at the time was 10 years old. They diagnosed him as bipolar, and they put him on the same medication I was on.
Wow.
And it's like, I'm sorry, but at 10 years old, your brain isn't developed. Your brain doesn't fully develop until you're about 25. So imagine putting a child and on heavy antipsychotics. And when he turned 18, he was like, first thing he did was throw his meds away. It's like, I mean, he weaned off them. He didn't just stop altogether because that will kill you in some instances. But yeah, I can understand the anti-medication thing, and it's like, with the new research coming out now with schizophrenia, where they're, instead of trying to silence the voices, there are some advocates over in the UK and France that are saying embrace the voices, the delusional voices that they hear, and actually work with them instead of against them. So it's just, but I mean, I know back, that interview with Cruz was like, for me, it was I mean, I think that was right around when I was first diagnosed with bipolar, and I'm like, dude's off his rocker as he's hopping over the couch. I'm like, having a little manic episode there, Tommy boy.
Well,
But
What?
and you have to remember that for quite a while, Tom was out of the Church of Scientology. Uh, uh, and this has never been publicly talked about, but my suspicion and the suspicion of others is that he actually went nuts when he first read OT3.
Right.
And so finally the church sent Mark Rathbun to fix him up.
I could see
And
that.
and being as how at that time Marty Rathbun was the top auditor on the planet, uh, who better? And
Absolutely.
so, but basically, if you look at what an auditor is supposed to do, an auditor is just supposed to listen and not evaluate.
Yeah. Which can be quite useful if it's done properly, but they go beyond the scope of.
Well, they listen and not evaluate. They get the dirt.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it is, and whether or not L. Ron Hubbard said to do that, it's been that way for a long time. And not only that, but most auditing rooms, especially at Flag and in LA, not only do they get the dirt on paper, but they have video cameras, and so you can't go back and say, "Well, I didn't say that," because they'll just trot the video right out and say, "Yes, you did."
Well,
You know.
wouldn't your first clue be that they're recording and videotaping you during these sessions? That
Oh,
something hinky is up?
you don't know that. The cameras are hidden.
Is that even legal?
No, but so supposedly it's covered under the Priest Penitent Act.
Really? Because I
Yeah.
would think that they would be able to, like, the whole point of the priest penitent thing is that it's confidential. If they're recording it, wouldn't that be the opposite
No,
of?
because they tell you it's confidential.
Oh,
Until
interesting.
they need to use it.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing about Scientology. What they tell you is not what is.
Yeah, I can see that.
Has
You
anybody
know,
ever challenged them on that, as far as with the recordings?
legally not yet.
Somebody should.
Well,
I was going to say somebody should.
first, first, do actually second. No. Okay. First, you would have to have a complainant that would be willing to go to the authorities and say, this is what I did, and then I went to the church and I told them what I did, and now they've used it against me.
Right.
Okay, you would have to prove that Scientology violated the Priest Penitent Act by using the information. That's why you've seen priests actually go to jail and in some cases even die because they would not reveal what was said to them in confessional.
Right.
See, I can understand, as much as I loathe to, with a quote actual priest, a man of the cloth or a woman. See that with mainstream church, not with Scientology. Would you think, like, just kind of hypothetical, would Leah Remini be in a position to challenge that if it came right down to it?
Again, what Scientology has come out with so far in their rebuttals, uh, there's nothing in her confessionals that's been revealed.
Right.
See, they
Now,
can they can hold it over your head as much as they want, but unless they've actually violated the law by revealing what's in your confessional, then they haven't done anything illegal.
she's preempted it by coming out and confessing pretty much everything.
That's why she did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to have somebody challenge that at some point, though, for sure.
Well,
Because
I think out of anyone, I think she would actually be the strongest as far as from an emotional standpoint. I mean,
well, but the thing is, they haven't actually said anything
anything yet.
Yeah,
yet.
they haven't even threatened her with releasing confidential information.
Yeah,
Now
that would,
that should be telling right there. If you
Oh,
think
it is. It is. They're scared as shit.
Yeah. And that's where I was kind of headed, because the fact that they haven't done that tells me that they have something and they know that she has the cojones to challenge them. And I think
Oh
out of
yeah.
anybody,
Oh
she'd
yeah.
be the strongest one from an emotional standpoint. Would be the strongest one to be able to handle the backlash. Because she's,
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that's why I labeled the episode, Leah Remini, has the cojones, because I really think she's been really ballsy in all this. I mean, I don't think from a career standpoint she could give two fucks. I mean, she's strong enough that she can, get work based on her own merits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't need Scientology as Cruz and Travolta seem to make a headway.
Well, Travolta's been keeping his mouth shut, so we don't
Mm,
actually know where he is
yeah.
on this whole thing. The only thing he's publicly said recently was after Jet died.
Well,
And
and I think that's why he's not saying anything publicly, is the accusations that Scientology basically is responsible for Jet's death.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, because as far as Scientology
He
is
doesn't want.
concerned, autism doesn't exist.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and and bet you $10 he's an MMS victim,
Mm, that could
and
well
that's
be.
been proposed. And I think part of the reason he is remaining silent in all this is he does not want the attention brought to his son's death, because autism is not a death sentence.
No.
No.
Well, I won't say you cannot die from. I have yet to hear of anybody dying from autism. I have heard of people dying from the quack treatments, and I'm pretty sure Scientology would fall into there.
Or people that may have had other medical issues on top of autism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and I'm pretty sure that's the case.
yeah. And
Yeah.
if it's not MMS, I'm pretty sure it's the GMAFC, if I'm remembering the acronyms correctly. The one that Dr. Bradstreet supposedly was killed over.
Well, and if you look at the Robin Williams case, uh,
Mhm.
where he was misdiagnosed with Parkinson's,
Yeah.
and they
Well,
didn't find out
well,
what he actually had until after he was dead, and they could actually
yeah,
autopsy his brain.
yeah. It's just like the CBT from the concussions that football and hockey players, they can't diagnose it till after death. But yeah,
I did
yeah.
find the graphic of that fax. I'm just gonna share that up here, guys, so everybody can see that.
That's cool. Send that to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do
I
that. And
vaguely remember that being in the news where there was a big hubbub about it.
well, I'll just read it for because we do produce this as audio only after the
Mm.
fact. It just says your rights are being taken away. Ontario Bill 95 will allow anyone to be picked up and treated by a psychiatrist without their consent. How will this affect you, your family, and your friends? What can you do? And then it's got and this is, I don't know if you've heard of these guys, Robert. It's the uh, it's hard for me to read it there. It's a new group, and it was the can't
That,
really.
look, that looks like Citizens Commission on Human Rights.
Yeah, I was
Yes,
just gonna
that's what
say
it
the
is.
same thing. Yep.
Citizens
Yeah.
on Human Rights, which we looked at. I hadn't heard of it, but Devin, the young gentleman who sent this, we looked it up, and it's a Scientology group.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
been around for a long time.
Okay,
I
we hadn't
remember
heard of it.
them first time I was on the news groups, and uh, I was still right when I was diagnosed with bipolar, so I was like reading everything and anything I could on bipolar and psychiatry and psychology, and how they treat it, and oh my God, the Commission on Human Rights. I mean, it took me a while to realize they were Scientologists, but it's like, yeah, they were hard and heavy during that time period with their anti-psych stuff.
If you go to if you go to Lisa Marie Presley's website, she used to have links to CCHR on her website, and she doesn't anymore.
Okay. Yeah, because and see, around here, nobody knows much of anything about this stuff. So when you see this facts and it's saying, Citizens Commission on Human Rights, you're like, oh, it's like a human rights protection group or
Yeah.
some of that shit. And it was Devin who, looked it up and kind of figured out, hey, wait a minute, this is Scientology shit.
Yeah.
And made us aware of it in our group. So
Yeah. On
we're
the on
not.
the on the International Org Board, that's Organization Board for Scientology, it's there. Abel's there. The Scholastic wing for schools is there. That's the one that Will Smith got hung up in.
Yes.
And Narconon is there. So, I mean, they can deny all they want publicly that Narconon is not Scientology, but it is. It's pure Scientology.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
down to the purification rundown, which
Oh, yes.
which I can tell you because I went through twice is a hell of a thing.
It sounds horrible.
I'll take
Yeah.
my rubber room, thank you.
I mean, like, I take vitamins, but that's because I have a shitty diet. But
Have you ever taken more than, say, 30 milligrams of niacin?
no. I used to take a niacin every day. I think it's just in my regular multivitamin now, but
Your skin
Oh,
starts to itch and burn, and and every time you sweat, it burns more. You know where the rivulets go, and by the time I was done, I was up to 30,000 milligrams a day of niacin. And
it's what the kids use nowadays to try to beat a drug test.
yeah, yeah. What most people don't understand is if a person is a hardcore alcoholic or drug addict,
mm-hmm.
their liver is already compromised.
Yes.
High doses of niacin can actually compromise it more, leading to death.
Oh, lovely. Just lovely. And then they
Yeah.
wonder why people diss Scientology with their anti-medical stuff, and yeah.
Yeah,
I
so you can add to L. Ron Hubbard's list of crimes by calling him a quack.
that definitely for sure. I remember.
Along with because cigarettes have nicotinic acid in them, which in small doses is a good thing. Cigarettes won't kill you. If you get sick from cigarettes like cancer or emphysema, you need to smoke more to get more of the nicotinic acid in you. Don't laugh, I'm telling you the truth.
I had not heard of that before.
Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard said it, so it must be true.
Of course. Wow.
Okay.
That guy. I tell you, know what got me is that smug, smarmy laugh of his when I've seen him in videos, and that like smug smile. It's just like, wow, you're a slimy fucker, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
My
Along with being a misogynist and a racist.
That too, yes.
You
That too.
know.
Yeah, you don't.
Why do all religions have that in common?
That's a good point. I don't know.
Well, you got to understand that y'all women are not meant to understand the higher things in life.
We're just supposed to be sandwiches, right?
Damn it, you're supposed to make my dinner and get pregnant.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, no
Hey,
kidding.
man,
You're talking to two chicks that have never been pregnant.
Well,
Or
shit.
and
Well,
I will be blunt, and one who's never seen dick.
oh,
exactly.
well, in that
And
case, y'all
never
are doomed.
intends to.
In
Well,
that case, y'all are doomed to hell anyway. So what the hell?
I know.
which version of hell?
I don't, planet Earth, whatever. I don't know.
Does Scientology have a version of hell?
Just gonna ask that. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here we go.
This is gonna be good.
Okay. No, I'm just gonna throw this out. You got total freedom,
Yep.
and you got the dwindling spiral.
Okay.
Okay. Now, mankind is on a crash course in the dwindling spiral.
Of course.
You know, which means that every time you die and come back, you're a little bit lower than you were before because of your human condition.
Okay.
Now, if you get audited and get trained, because especially when you get up into the OT levels, you're auditing yourself, so you want to be the best trained auditor you can be.
Right.
Basically, in the OT levels, is you're holding the two cans in one hand, and you are psychically communicating with these body thetans that have attached themselves to you,
Yes.
and telling them
They just
to
reminded me of something.
and telling them to get gone. You know, you're actually auditing these body thetans so that they'll get gone. Okay. Now, if you do this, then eventually you'll end up not being on Earth anymore. You know, and see, Scientology, when L. Ron Hubbard died, and you can find this on YouTube, David Miscavige's first public speech was the L. Ron Hubbard death event.
Right. I recall that.
And he comes out and says that L. Ron Hubbard could not do any more OT levels in a body. If he wanted to continue the OT levels, he had to disconnect from his body.
I saw that speech. Yes.
I remember that.
And they will tell you that what he did was mentally make his pineal gland disconnect from his brain.
Okay.
Whereas we, on the outside, know that L. Ron Hubbard died from a stroke.
Yes.
And that L. Ron Hubbard was on psychiatric drugs when he died.
Mm-hmm. So we're basically already in Scientology hell. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the only way out is to get auditing and training.
Okay, so we're already there, so it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I'm
I can
good.
do without a few things, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's nobody trying to burn our ass.
Yeah.
You know, we're not getting stuck with pitchforks or some shit like that. So,
You know, even in my most religious Christian or quasi-Christian thinking, I never did accept hell.
yeah, yeah.
Hell never scared me. Hell never scared me, and the reason being is, and we can get into the Old Testament shit, you know, that goes along with that, which is, you know, like kill, rape, pillage, kill, rape virgins only, and kill the rest. What kind of God would do that?
A real sick fuck.
Doesn't make sense to me. You know,
Exactly.
I'm gonna.
Well,
I got an article coming up in a couple of days called "ISIS and the Law,"
Oh,
so stay tuned for that one. Uh, on worldcultwatch.org, uh, that I actually show where ISIS not only feels compelled to do what they do, but is actually commanded by Muhammad.
yeah. Well, I've often said
And
that.
and that Muhammad was very strong on Abraham, you know, and although he took liberally from the Old Testament, they don't read the the Bible, the Holy Bible, because supposedly it's been bastardized by the Jews and the Christians, who
Oh,
are who are of the book.
yes. All the same shit, different flavor.
You know, yeah, because they're all based on Abraham, you
Yep.
know, who God told to take his only son up into the hills and burn him as an offering.
I saw a meme today, actually. It said Abraham, who, when he first started hearing voices, mutilated his own penis and tried to kill his son. But hey, he's worth following.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I, you
Yeah.
know, I don't like religion. I don't like
Well,
religion.
I'll say this for Scientology, at least they're not trying to get you to lop off body parts.
Yeah, you know what? They did that to me before I even had a choice. So you know,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, shit.
who
Well,
knows? Who knows how big I could have would.
yeah. Beth, have we embarrassed you yet?
No.
Okay, good. Do I have to bring out the water bottle? No.
That might scare Rob.
I don't
I
know,
don't think
Rob.
Rob. I don't know, Rob. Have you seen her water bottle yet? You might as well bring it out. We open that can of worms.
Yeah, let me see that
Prepare
thing.
yourself.
There we go.
Cool, cool,
I acquired that at Pride in the summertime, and it comes with its own cock ring on the lanyard, just for fun.
cool. I got a couple of ex-wives that would love that.
It's the best $4 I've ever spent. Nonstop entertainment. That's all I can.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it actually does hold water, but you have to take the tip off to fill it up.
Take the tip off. There you go.
Yeah, you get to keep.
Circumcision.
Yeah. Well, this one appears to be already circumcised. See, that's
Yeah.
what they should have done. They should put like some kind of rubber tip on that you pull back to. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, if God wanted you to be circumcised, why didn't He just make you circumcised?
I know. It's like that was another meme I saw today. It's God's like, yeah, hey Abraham, I fucked up on the penis thing. I'm gonna have to get you to chop some of it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much for being created in His image.
Yeah, because apparently, number one, there would have to be two gods, one that has, lady parts, and another one that has a dick with no foreskin.
Well, see, now if you go into Gnostic studies,
Yes,
that's actually there. You know,
I.
Mm-hmm.
only it's a spiritual dick and twat.
Okay. Spiritual.
Well, they could get around that if you really think about it. That Adam and Eve were not husband and wife; they were husband and husband because Eve technically is a clone.
That's true.
If
Yeah.
she was taken from the rib, then genetically she is identical to Adam,
Well,
which
I
would
don't.
make her.
If you look at Genesis, especially Genesis 1 and Genesis 2,
Yeah.
you know, there was two Eves.
Yeah. Well,
That,
and then there's the whole thing of Lilith.
yep.
Well, Lilith being the first Eve. you know,
Right.
who was just
Yeah.
like a badass bitch, you know. So maybe like the biblical version of Leah Remini, you know,
Hey, there you go.
you know, just like because I mean, you know, if you look at her story, she was never one to toe the line. You know, she was
Exactly.
always in trouble. You know, what got her in trouble in the Sea Org when she was 14, you know, a boy brushed her breast, you know.
Why do you
And
think she wrote the book?
I think she just wanted people to understand uh, that Scientology is not a good place to be. And the thing about Leah is she writes so honestly, self-deprecating,
mhm.
but with humor. And I think everybody should get the book and read it because she she knows what the celebs that have come out have never talked about. Some of them because they don't know the shit. Because
Mhm.
she was actually in the Sea Org. She's actually read the Sea Org only policies.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good point because a lot of like the celebrities would have been solicited as celebrities and they would never have been tapped for Sea Org because they want them out in the public being the face of Scientology, but because
Right.
she was raised in it and became a celebrity after the fact, she's different. Most of the time they would never go in the Sea Org. So that's a good
Right.
point.
Right. I
Hmm.
mean, like,
Yeah.
you're not going to see Tom Cruise wearing the damn uniform.
Oh
You
hell
know?
no! Could you imagine Tom Cruise trying to like scrub the deck of a boat somewhere?
Or scrub the toilet with a toothbrush. You know,
That yeah
not going to do that.
I'd pay to see that.
yeah
Well, maybe not. I won't pay to see any of his movies, so.
no
No,
I
no.
won't even
But you know, and one thing that made me angry, and this is even after I was out,
yeah
when David Miscavige said that Tom Cruise was the most dedicated Scientologist he'd ever met. And I
yeah
said, what a slap in the face to every Scientology staff member that ever lived.
Yeah.
and the ones that were like you said scrubbing out toilets with a toothbrush and slaving away on various installations, cleaning everything, building shit, and
Even even people like me. I was the executive director of the Church of Las Vegas.
yeah
And there were weeks that I ate nothing but 2 packs of top ramen a day.
yeah.
What a slap in the face. You
And the
know?
people that spend hours and hours perfecting their auditing and going recruiting and spending hours and hours in the recruitment centers and all of those people and to say just because Tom Cruise is out there as a public Scientologist, big fucking deal.
Yeah.
Like what does he do? He makes money. He makes movies, which has nothing to do with Scientology at all, and shows up at functions and goes, "Woo! Look, I'm Tom Cruise and I'm a Scientologist." That's it.
And he gives a lot of money to the church.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you
Well, if
think Tom Cruise could survive without Scientology?
Not now. Not
yeah,
now.
Oh, okay.
He's too used to being a demigod.
Yeah. What about
yeah,
Travolta?
he's gone off the deep end. I think that guy.
It would take a huge slap in the face to 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 make him even question. Now, if Scientology did to him what they were supposed to do after Katie was declared,
Mm-hmm.
he would not be able to see his daughter and communicate with his ex-wife about his daughter. You know, that I don't think would twig him. I think
Yeah.
he would accept that.
Yeah. Do you think they're gonna try and find him another lady?
Oh, I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody's on the casting couch. uh,
Oh man, I remember when he was dating Penelope Cruz for a while. That was funny. They're like, it's Cruz and Cruz.
Yeah, I remember that.
look what they did to that one chick, Nozomi.
Yes, the Canadian girl.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, here she is, like, oh, you're moving in with Tom Cruise. Great. Oh, guess what? You fucked up. You're out.
not that's not the rotten part. The rotten part is the little fucker didn't have the balls to break up with her on his own.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
What kind of man does that? You know, leaves Tommy Davis and his wife to break up for him.
Yeah, and what kind of a arrogant fuck would have anybody, like, oh, I've got my own breakup squad,
Yeah.
Yeah, don't. You know, your
Yeah,
mission. Should you decide to accept it?
yeah. You get to break up with my girlfriend for me. Have
Yeah,
fun. I'm
yeah,
gonna be in another country somewhere. Bye bye.
yeah, yeah. If she comes after me, I will disavow. You know.
Yeah, wow.
No, he's a rat bastard,
Oh,
and
he is.
I don't think I don't think he has a chance. The one that I do think might have a chance would be Travolta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Travolta he's got some decency about him from what I can tell. Like he is in there up to his, eyeballs, but I think he has a bit of decency. Cruz is just an arrogant fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now the other one I don't think is going to make it out would be Nancy Cartwright.
Mm.
Uh, in the last couple of years, she's donated what 13 million, something like that, uh, to the superpower building and stuff like that.
Yeah. They ever gonna build that thing?
And oh, it's finished.
Oh, it
It's
is.
it's done finally. Opened
Good.
last year, you know. But
Oh, that's right.
this is after why I don't have any hope for her. This is after her fiance killed himself
Mm.
because he got caught up taking money out of his company and giving it to Scientology.
Oh, fuck.
He threw
And
himself off of a bridge, you know.
unbelievable. Well, and I
That was
remember,
that was the bridge to total freedom.
yeah, fuck. Her a hell of a way to get there.
Yeah,
It reminds me of the young fellow that I saw in the video from LA. He was talking about how, he got to the point where he didn't even want to go to the celebrity center because the minute he walked in the door, they were harassing him for money, and they would be like three people deep waiting for their turn to bug him for money. But the one that stuck out for me was they wanted him to give money for something, and he was like, look, I have nothing left, I am completely tapped out, and they made him phone his grandmother to
yeah,
get her to give him money. Like, that's unbelievable. And he said, he normally would never have done that in a million years, but they basically had him in a room and said, you can't go home until you get money from her.
yeah, yeah. And they have in the bigger orgs like in LA and in Clearwater, they actually have financial experts that will actually go out and get your credit limits raised
Yes.
and your credit reports cleaned
Yep.
so that you can get more credit cards
Yep.
just so you can pay for their shit.
Yeah, and the same fellow, he said before he got to the point of phone grandma, that's what they did. He said they had three or four of them got on tablets and put in applications for credit cards in his name, and we're trying to see like if one could get through the application before the next one, got a credit check too, and that didn't work because he told them, look, I maxed out on credit. And that's when they came up, well, who can you phone? Phone grandma, get money out of her, kind of thing. It's
There,
ridiculous.
there was an Italian lady. She's dead now. She died a couple years back. Her name was Pia Gardini, and you can actually watch some interviews with her on YouTube.
I think I have.
And one of her first interviews was funny because she was going through the OT levels, and she was talking about body thetans, and how you get on OT3, and when you're done with OT3, you figure, okay, there's no more body thetans, and then you get on OT4 and you read some theory and stuff, and then you get on OT5 and there's more body thetans, and then you get on OT6 and you read some more theory, then you get on OT7, you go even more body thetans, but she at one time had a lot of money that had been left to her by her parents and her grandparents, and she went through all of that. And then when she went to Flag, they were asking her for more money for the International Association of Scientologists, and she flat refused. And she ended up, as a public person, scrubbing bathroom floors with a toothbrush.
Wow.
An RPF Republic. And Leah went through that,
Yeah.
and I was threatened with that.
Right.
When I went for my sec checks. Now, fortunately, I was on staff when I got my sec checks, and I actually finished my contract, so I didn't have a freeloader debt. Had I not been on staff, or had I gotten a freeloader debt, it would have been about $100,000 for that sec check. Leah Remini paid $300,000 for her sec checks.
Damn. But now, would they, if you just basically said, fuck you, I don't have that kind of money, bite me, like, would they be able to sue for that?
No,
Yeah.
it's not legal. What they depend on, and most Sea Org members, when they do leave Sea Org, they want to stay Scientologists.
Right.
They want that bridge to total freedom. They want their eternity, and so they'll pay it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's one of the points I've brought up a couple times is that legally that billion-year contract is it's void.
Yeah, it's unenforceable.
Especially, yeah, it's unenforceable. So you could walk away from Scientology, and legally there's nothing they can do. And
right.
they would be foolish to try to force the issue because I wish they would.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be the court case of all court cases that would bring them down.
Could you imagine somebody, them suing somebody for, say, $300,000, and they look at it and go, you want them to pay you $300,000 for living in a shithole that you barely feed them and made them wash shit with toothbrushes all day?
Yeah, and pay them a whole $15 a week salary.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're in trouble.
Yes.
If you're on the RPF, you only get $7 a week.
And then
that's what's kind of baffling to me is why the government itself has not really pushed that issue.
Because you are a volunteer.
Yeah. See,
that's how they get around the legality.
Yeah. And it's like I wish they would somebody, whether it's state or local or federal, would really push on that issue. Because
okay, to do that legally, at least here in the United States, I don't know how it is in Canada or other countries, but in the United States, to do that, you would have to not only do it to Scientology, you would have to do it to all churches,
Mm,
which wouldn't break my heart.
Oh yeah.
exactly.
Just like the tax exemption, you know, uh, what like what Beatty and Photo work for, is to just get rid of the goddamn tax exemption for all churches,
Yeah.
you know, or at least make them prove that they're doing something for the betterment of mankind.
That's
Yeah.
true too. I could see that.
You know, like you take the volunteer ministers in Scientology,
Yes.
the ones that go out for the promo shots to the places that have been declared disaster areas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh, what they mostly do is they hand out little booklets from the Way to Happiness,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically a common sense Ten Commandment type thing. You
And
know,
no better than the Christians that go around handing out Bibles in disaster zones.
well, and again, let's go back to Christianity or Mosianity.
Yeah.
Uh, I like that word. Maybe I'll use it. Uh, Moses didn't write the Ten Commandments, and God through Moses didn't write the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments, almost word for word, were written in Egypt 6,000 years before Moses was born.
Well, you can go even back further. Instructions of Shurapek.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know why people don't study this shit.
Because they
Well,
don't
because
do.
they're afraid of hell, you know.
do.
Like I've posted several times on Facebook, life is so much easier when you don't believe in hell.
Hell yeah. Well, we should be wrapping things up. We're about that time. So, is there anything else anybody wants to cover before we do that?
Yeah, one thing. For the sake of your own sanity and humanity, do not join the Church of Scientology. Don't even walk in the doors. Don't take the fucking personality test. You can read my article on my website, The Making of a Cult Member, where I actually go through what I used to do when I would evaluate the people's Oxford Capacity Analysis Test, which is the personality test,
Right.
and I was good at it. I was real good at it. I guarantee, within 6 minutes of sitting down at the table across from me, I would have you crying, and I would have you signed on your first course.
Right. Yeah,
So
definitely.
the best thing is don't take the fucking personality test. That way, you don't have to go into the org to get it read.
And there are thousands of personality tests available on this thing called Google,
Yeah,
and you could
yeah.
pick and choose. You could do 6 or 8 or 10 of them if you want. And
Yeah. So
that's
just,
the damn thing.
you know, just don't even if your graph was high, like everything was above the middle line, you know, I even had an answer for that. You know what? I would love to see at least one of your points down because that would show that you're not psychotic.
Oh wow. Holy.
I had an answer for everything. And the answer was always you're fucked up and Scientology can help you with this.
Yep.
And the guy's sitting there or the girl, the tears coming down their face. What can I do? Okay. I got the perfect course for you. And it's only going to take you 2 weeks, you know? Little do you know, little do you know that at the end of that course, you're going to go to the examiner and you're going to go on the cans, and the examiner is going to ask you, would you like others to have the wins that you just had? And you're going, yeah, I feel great. And right then you go to the registrar
Mm-hmm.
and you sign up for your next course. And that's what makes you a Scientologist, you know. And it's not only the communication course, all of the basic courses will, I'm not going to say they're going to expose you to something new, but they're going to expose you to something that makes sense that you already probably knew, but you hadn't applied it to your life. Once you take any piece of technology and apply it to your personal life, and you see any kind of rise, what are you going to do? You're going to say it works. And not only are you going to pay for more courses, you're going to tell your friends, hey, I found something that works for me. And that's what they depend on.
Yeah.
They, sure, they need the money from the whales, but, the whales are either going to leave or they're going to die off
Right.
because nobody's going to hang around here for 1 billion years,
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
And the thing is, if you die in the Sea Org, you're expected back within 23 years,
Oh shit.
or or you're put on report.
How do they know you've come back?
Fuck if I know. I never figured that one out.
That's what you should do. You go to the Sea Org and you say, okay, I am, so and so, and this is a year, 1 year away from the billionth year. So at the end of this year, I'm done, and I'm out, and I fulfilled my contract. Good for me.
Fuck that. I'm going to tell them I'm wrong.
Yeah, even better. Oh, geez. Well, I'll come back to you in a minute, Robert. So, Beth, why don't you tell folks where we can find you?
Easiest place is Twitter at Dune9998. Yes, that's after another sci fiction writer. That connects to both my blog Havoc and Cass and also to my Facebook, which is Beth A. Hambridge. It's an easy way to find me. I like to rant and rave about anything and everything. Lately, it's trying to understand Islam and
Yeah,
all that surrounds that mess.
making some headway there.
Yeah, slowly but surely. I battle with the fuck all religions and fuck people that follow religions, but there's a little tiny bit of humanism in me that just is not comfortable with that, and it's exposure to ex-Muslims, of which we've had quite a few on the show that have kind of changed my thinking in a way. Like we were talking the other day, is basically separating the ideology from the individual. And
Yeah.
I'm having a really tough time with that because
Yeah.
I have the fuck religion. I'm struggling with.
Fuck religion without fucking the person. But we can come back to
Yeah. But folks, I got to tell you something.
Yes.
If you want to find out what's going on in fundamentalism across the board, go to Beth's site, because sometimes even her righteous indignation shows through.
She does do that, doesn't she?
Yes, she does.
I just find it insidious.
It is insidious. It absolutely is.
All fundamentalism is insidious.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So, Robert, speaking of fundamentalism, you have World Cult Watch. Why don't you tell everybody where we can find you and your stuff?
WorldCultWatch.org is my main website, where I talk about not just Scientology, but all cults, which is most religions, if
Yes.
not all. and I started out just on Scientology, and then there were people that wrote to me wanting me to tell their story about some other churches. And now I don't capitalize church at all. Uh,
Neither do I.
and sometimes I put it in quotes just to make sure people look at my non-capitalization. I've picked on a few of the mainstreams. Mormonism is one of them, and by far one of the worst ones is the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yes.
Jehovah's Witnesses. I have to preface this by saying I have met some Jehovah's Witnesses that are really cool people, lovely people. I've met some Scientologists that are really lovely people, and Leah Remini will tell you the same thing, and Tori Christman will tell you the same thing.
Absolutely.
And I've met some Mormons that are really lovely people. But the religion is bad.
Hell yeah.
The religion is bad. And the religion is bad, for my mind, is because they're not humanist.
No, they're exclusionary.
They're anti-humanist. You
Yeah.
know, it's like if it has something to do with kindness and generosity, it has to be prefaced by their Bible.
Yeah.
You know, and it has to be their God above all, and fuck humanity,
Yeah.
and
They
and
fuck God.
and the the Islamic State is another one.
Yes.
You know, we love you so much that we're willing to kill you,
Yeah.
and and that and that's and that's not their words. That's Muhammad's words.
Yep. Absolutely. And you've also got your Facebook and you're on Google Plus and all that
Go,
fun stuff. Yeah.
go to on Facebook. Just look for Robert Robinson, who lives in Forest Grove, Oregon, and that would be me. And on Twitter, I am Grey Wolf Elyeska, Alyeska. That's the Russian spelling of Alaska.
Okay. Can you see Russia from Alaska?
As a matter of fact, you can in parts. The west coast of Alaska.
I'm guessing not from Sarah Palin's house, but anyway.
No, and especially from the Aleutians, you can see the Russian islands. A
Well,
lot of people don't know that in the summer times there are a lot of Russian students that spend their summers in Alaska working.
hmm, makes sense.
Yeah,
Ooh, don't tell that to the fundies. Take over
and
the
America is considering Russians' proposition to build an international highway that goes from Siberia over to Alaska.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate having you. It was a lot of good discussion as usual.
As always, thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so for me, Atheist Apocalypse, we landed another episode out today. So that's atheistapocalypse.com. We're all the way up to episode 8 of the first season. We're already working well into season 2 for you, and that you'll see that in the new year. But for now, there's going to be 2 more episodes after this one for this season. So go check it out at atheistapocalypse.com. Next week will be interesting for Beyond the Trailer Park because we are actually going to pre-record a show. We're going to be talking to a Bangladeshi writer who is in Canada, but was involved with many of the unfortunate gentlemen who were murdered. And so he is unavailable on Monday nights. So we're going to go ahead and pre-record it for you this week, and we will upload it at 9:30 on Monday. So it will be available at the usual time. We just won't actually be live. So my apologies in advance for not being available for Q&A, etc. But in order to bring this to you, and we think it's really important to discuss, we're going to go ahead and accommodate our guest and pre-record it. So that will be next Monday, but we will be here as usual. And we have some cool shows in the works. We will be doing a Jehovah's Witness show soon. Looks like we have a couple of guests lined up for that, so we're excited about that as well. So until then, I will, as always, end things out with our good friend Dave Foda's Humanist Creed.
I know the truth and power of reason and of rational thinking, and I will use them to my advantage. I know the truth and power of educating myself and of expanding my intellectual boundaries. I know the truth and power of vanquishing ignorance, and I will do so whenever the opportunity presents itself. I know the truth and power of morality without supervision, and of true and accurate righteousness. I know the truth and power of obliterating tyranny, be it intellectual, emotional, or philosophical, and will work toward that goal whenever and however possible. I know the truth and power of human ingenuity. I know the truth and power of human compassion, and I will be mindful of the welfare of others. I know the truth and power of equality and fairness for all living things. I know the truth and power of the importance of our families, our friends, and our fellow men and women. I know the truth and power of human stewardship of our lands, our waters, and our skies, and I will try to act to preserve our environment. I know the truth and power of the sciences of mathematics, of physics, and of chemistry, and of the important role of these disciplines in understanding the workings of this cosmos. I know the truth and power of the rejection of all notions or beliefs that reside in the supernatural or the superstitious, and of those notions or beliefs that we are not supposed to be able to explain. And I know that these rejections are necessary for humankind's survival. I am a human being with a free mind, liberated from irrational influence and from unreasonable dogma.